Most people believe that if their goals have not arrived, they simply need to work harder, pray longer, or push through with more discipline. But I tell you the truth, the real barrier is not your effort. The real barrier is the invisible resistance inside your own mind, built from years of fear and disappointment, quietly sabotaging every step you take forward. This resistance does not respond to force. It does not surrender to willpower, but it does respond to a specific kind of permission, delivered at the exact moment when your conscious defenses are down and your subconscious mind is finally listening. Today, I will show you the 3 words that create that permission, why you must say them before sleep, and how this simple practice removes the blockage that has been keeping the life you are building just out of reach. I am Rabbi Ben, and I begin today by naming something that many of you already feel but rarely speak about. It is the quiet exhaustion that comes from trying to control every outcome while still feeling stuck inside. You work long hours, you plan carefully, you pray with discipline, and yet something pushes back. The goal does not come, the peace does not arrive, the breakthrough does not happen, and so you wonder whether you are working hard enough or whether you are praying correctly. But I tell you plainly, the problem is not that you are lazy. The problem is not that you lack faith or intelligence. The problem is that you are straining against something that cannot be defeated with force. You are fighting with the part of yourself that holds the keys to change. Many capable adults live this way. They set good goals. They maintain strong values. They honor their families and their work. But internally, they carry a weight they cannot name. They feel resistance where there should be flow. They feel doubt where there should be direction. And this resistance does not come from the outside world. It comes from within. It comes from years of fear, disappointment, and the learned habit of controlling every risk before it appears. This is the exhaustion of always forcing, and it quietly drains the strength that could otherwise be used to build your future. I see this in men who have built successful careers but feel no peace. I see this in women who have raised strong families but feel no permission to rest. I see this in people who give generously but feel unworthy to receive. They are not failing. They are simply caught in a pattern where effort and resistance are locked in a battle that neither side can win. The conscious mind says, move forward. The subconscious mind says, stay safe. And the person in the middle feels only fatigue. So the question is not whether you are doing enough. The question is not whether you need to work harder or pray longer. The question is whether you are creating the inner conditions that allow growth to take root. And that is what we will build together. Let me explain how this resistance works. Your conscious mind is the part of you that makes decisions, sets goals, and chooses actions. It is the part that says, I will save more money, I will repair this relationship, I will change this habit. But beneath that conscious intention lives another system. This is the subconscious mind, and it operates by different rules. It does not respond to logic. It does not care about your plans. It responds to patterns, emotions, and memories that were formed long before you understood what was happening to you. When you were disappointed as a younger person, your subconscious recorded that pain. When you were rejected or humiliated, it built a defense. When you took a financial risk and lost, it created a break inside you to prevent future loss. And now, years later, when you consciously decide to pursue a goal, that old defense activates. It does not speak in words. It speaks in hesitation, doubt, and sudden fatigue. You feel blocked, but you cannot see the blockage. You feel unsafe, but you cannot name the danger. This is how the mind quietly pushes back. It is not rebellion, it is protection. But protection that was built for a younger version of you now limits the adult you are trying to become. And this dynamic affects every part of life. It affects how you approach money, because old fear tells you that boldness leads to loss. It affects relationships, because old pain warns you that trust leads to betrayal. It affects health, because old habits feel safer than new discipline. The result is always the same. You move forward with effort, but something inside pulls backward with equal strength. You try to advance, but the internal brake keeps you exactly where you are. And because you cannot see this brake, you blame yourself. You think, I must not want it enough. I must lack discipline. But the truth is simpler and harder. Your subconscious does not believe that change is safe. And until you learn to communicate with that part of yourself in a language it understands, no amount of conscious effort will produce lasting transformation. This is why willpower alone fails. This is why positive thinking alone disappoints. And this is why we must learn a wiser way. So if the subconscious resists change through pressure, then the question becomes, how do we communicate with it in a way that reduces resistance rather than increasing it? And this is where the timing of your practice becomes essential. The human brain moves through different states throughout the day. During waking hours, your analytical mind is dominant. You are alert, focused, and often defensive. This is the state in which you solve problems and make plans. But it is also the state in which the subconscious is least receptive to new instruction. It is guarded. It is skeptical. It does not trust what the conscious mind is trying to impose. However, in the last minutes before sleep, something shifts. The brain begins to produce slower brain waves. Your body relaxes. Your defenses lower. And the subconscious becomes more open to suggestion. This is not mysticism. This is neuroscience. The alpha and theta states that occur just before sleep create a doorway between the conscious and subconscious systems. And this is why repeating complex affirmations during the stress of the day usually fails. You are trying to speak to a part of yourself that is not listening. You are trying to force change through willpower when willpower is the problem. But if you approach the mind with gentleness during the moment when it is naturally receptive, you create the conditions for real internal adjustment. You stop fighting, you start allowing, and that shift makes all the difference. The bedtime window is brief. It lasts perhaps 10 to 15 minutes. But in that window, the mind is soft enough to receive what it would reject during the day. The defenses are down, the arguments are quiet, and the subconscious can hear what you are truly asking for without interpreting it as a threat. So I invite you now to recognize where you are stuck. What goal feels blocked? What blessing feels distant? What decision feels impossible? What part of your life are you working toward but cannot seem to allow into being? If you are ready to examine this honestly, write in the comments, "My challenge is Kap Kai," and name the thing you feel blocked from allowing into your life. Now we move from the problem to the principle, and the principle is this: the nervous system changes through safety and permission, not through pressure and force. This is a law of the mind that many people violate every day without realizing it. They believe that transformation comes from pushing harder, demanding more, and refusing to accept anything less than total control. But the deeper truth, which has been taught by wise traditions for centuries, is that growth follows release. A seed does not force its way through the soil. It surrenders to the process that is already designed within it. A tree does not strain to grow taller. It allows the structure that is built into its nature to unfold over time. And the same is true for you. When you try to force your subconscious to accept a new belief, it tightens. When you demand that fear disappear immediately, it deepens. When you insist on controlling every outcome, you create the exact conditions that prevent progress. But when you give yourself permission to allow, something different happens. The nervous system interprets permission as safety. It interprets allowing as trust. And when the subconscious feels safe, it stops resisting. This does not mean passivity. This does not mean abandoning responsibility or waiting for the universe to deliver results while you do nothing. That is foolishness. What I am teaching is the difference between ethical self-leadership and fearful control. Ethical self-leadership says, I will do my part with discipline and wisdom, and I will allow the outcome to unfold according to principles I cannot fully control. Fearful control says, I must manage every detail or disaster will strike. One creates steady progress, the other creates exhaustion. And the practice we are building begins with recognizing that allowing is not weakness. It is alignment with the way the mind actually works. It is recognition that you are not abandoning responsibility when you stop trying to control what was never yours to control in the first place. You are simply stepping into a wiser relationship with your own growth. This is the foundation. This is the law. And everything that follows builds upon it. And so I introduce to you the 3 words that will become the foundation of this nightly practice. The phrase is this: I allow it. That is all. 3 words. No complexity, no lengthy visualization, no forcing yourself to believe something you do not yet believe. Just this: I allow it. And the simplicity is the power. When you repeat a long, complicated affirmation, your analytical mind activates. It begins to argue. It begins to question. It says, but is that really true? Do I really deserve that? What if it does not happen? And so the very tool you are using to create change becomes the source of new resistance. But when you use a phrase this simple, the analytical mind has nothing to grip. It cannot argue with 3 words that make no specific claim, and in that space of non-resistance, the subconscious can receive the message without defense. Now let me explain what each word contributes. The word I restores responsibility. It reminds you that you are not a victim waiting for external rescue. You are the one who permits or blocks what enters your life. The word allow reduces the internal fight. It replaces force with openness. It replaces demand with receptivity. And the word it prevents over-control of outcomes. You are not specifying exactly what must happen, how it must happen, or when it must happen. You are giving permission for the good that is aligned with your true growth to unfold in the way that serves your long-term strength. This is why vagueness here is not a flaw. It is a feature. You are not trying to manipulate reality. You are trying to remove the internal blockage that prevents you from receiving what you are already working toward. The phrase does not promise magic. It does not guarantee instant results. What it does is create psychological and ethical alignment. It signals to your nervous system that resistance can soften. It signals to your subconscious that safety is possible, and it does so without triggering the doubt that more specific language would create. This is the tool, and in the chapters that follow, I will show you exactly how it works beneath your awareness and how to use it with discipline. Now let me show you how this phrase works below the level of conscious awareness. When you say I, you are activating the part of your identity that takes responsibility. You are not blaming circumstances. You are not waiting for permission from others. You are claiming your role as the one who either allows or blocks what enters your life. This restores agency without creating pressure. It reminds the subconscious that you are not helpless, but it does not demand that you control what cannot be controlled. Then comes the word allow. This is the pivot. This is where the internal fight stops. Allowing is not the same as wanting or demanding. Wanting creates tension because it highlights what you do not yet have. Demanding creates resistance because it feels like force, but allowing creates openness. It says, I am not fighting anymore. I am not resisting the good that is trying to reach me. I am creating space for it to arrive. And this shift from force to receptivity is what the subconscious has been waiting for. It has been resisting because it interpreted your conscious goals as threats to safety. But when you allow, you signal that growth does not require danger. You signal that change can happen without loss. And finally, the word "it" prevents you from over-specifying the outcome. This is critical. When you name exactly what you want, exactly how it must arrive, and exactly when it must happen, you are trying to control the process, and control is what created the resistance in the first place. But when you say "it," you are giving permission for the outcome that serves your highest good, even if it does not match the picture you had in mind. You are trusting that the principles you are living by will produce results that are better than what you could have designed through fear. This is not vagueness for the sake of mysticism. This is precision for the sake of freedom. You are removing the internal demand that keeps you stuck, and you are replacing it with a statement of permission that the subconscious can accept. This is how the phrase works. And it works because it aligns with the structure of how the mind actually processes intention, safety, and change. And this brings us to the question of timing. Why does this practice belong at bedtime and not during the active hours of the day? The answer lies in how the brain transitions between states of consciousness. During the day, you operate primarily in beta brainwave states. This is the state of alertness, problem-solving, and defense. Your mind is sharp, but it is also guarded. It is scanning for threats. It is evaluating risks. And in that state, any attempt to introduce a new belief or permission is met with skepticism. The analytical mind asks, "Is this safe? Is this realistic? What will I lose if I allow this?" But as you prepare for sleep, the brain begins to shift. Beta waves give way to alpha waves, and then to theta waves. These slower frequencies correspond to relaxation, openness, and receptivity. The conscious mind loosens its grip. The defenses lower, and the subconscious becomes available for instruction in a way that it simply is not during waking hours. This is why affirmations repeated during stress or distraction rarely produce change. You are speaking to a part of yourself that is not listening. You are trying to plant seeds in soil that is frozen. But when you repeat the phrase, "I allow it," in the moments just before sleep, you are planting in soil that is soft and receptive. The subconscious hears without arguing. It receives without resistance. And over time, this repetition creates a new pattern. The old pattern said, "Change is dangerous, so I must resist." The new pattern says, "I am safe enough to allow what is good." This is not about forcing belief. This is about creating the conditions in which belief can naturally form. And the bedtime window is the doorway through which that shift occurs. So now the principle is fully clear. The phrase is simple. The timing is precise, and the method works with the design of your mind rather than against it. If you are ready to apply this teaching, write in the comments which part of the phrase speaks to you most. I, allow, or it. Now we move from principle to practice, and the practice itself is as simple as the phrase, but it must be done with discipline if it is to produce results. This is not casual repetition. This is not background noise. This is a deliberate act of self-leadership that you perform every night before sleep. Here is the structure. First, you prepare your body and your space. You lie down in bed. You turn off distractions. You create stillness. This is not optional. You cannot practice this method while scrolling through your phone or replaying the conflicts of the day. Stillness is the foundation. Second, you slow your breathing. Take 3 or 4 deep breaths. Let your body release the tension it has been carrying. Let your mind begin to quiet. You are not trying to empty your thoughts completely. You are simply creating enough calm that the subconscious can hear what you are about to say. Third, you repeat the phrase. Say it quietly, either aloud or in your mind. I allow it. Then pause. Let the words settle. Say it again. I allow it. Pause again. Repeat this 3 to 5 times, no more. You are not trying to convince yourself of anything. You are simply planting the seed. And fourth, you stop when drowsiness increases. This is critical. When you begin to feel yourself drifting toward sleep, you stop repeating the phrase. You do not push. You do not force yourself to stay awake in order to repeat it 10 more times. The moment of transition into sleep is when the subconscious is most open, and you want the last thing it hears to be permission, not effort. This is the practice. It takes less than 5 minutes. It requires no special equipment, no special knowledge, and no complex visualization. It requires only consistency and trust. And that consistency is what builds the foundation for everything that follows. So what should you expect as you practice this method night after night? Let me be clear about what this practice does and does not do. It does not replace action. It does not eliminate the need for wise decisions, disciplined work, or responsible stewardship of your resources. What it does is remove the internal resistance that has been preventing your actions from producing results, and the signs that this resistance is releasing will show up in specific ways. First, you will notice calmer thoughts. The anxious loop that used to run in your mind at night will begin to quiet. You will not eliminate all worry, but you will feel less controlled by it. Second, you may experience emotional release. Some people cry without knowing why. Some feel old anger or sadness rise to the surface. This is not a sign of failure. This is the subconscious clearing out what it no longer needs to protect. Let it move through you without judgment. Third, your sleep will likely improve. When internal resistance decreases, the nervous system relaxes. You fall asleep faster, you wake less often, and you rise with more clarity. Fourth, you will begin to make better decisions. This is the most important result. When fear is not driving your choices, you see options you could not see before. You take actions you would have avoided. You trust your judgment in ways that were previously impossible. And these better decisions lead to better outcomes in your finances, your relationships, and your health. This is not magic. This is the natural result of removing the blockage that was keeping you stuck. The practice does not create the good you seek. It creates the inner conditions that allow you to receive what you are already building through your work and your discipline. And over time, you will see that the life you have been trying to force into existence is the same life you are now able to allow into being. And so we come to the end of this teaching, but also to the beginning of your practice. I have shown you that most blocked goals are caused not by lack of effort, but by internal resistance that you did not know was there. I have explained how the subconscious mind operates by different rules than the conscious mind, and how permission works better than pressure. I have given you the 3 words that serve as the tool for releasing that resistance. I allow it. I have taught you when to use it, how to use it, and what to expect as you practice it with consistency. But now the responsibility moves to you. No teaching produces results without application. No principle changes a life unless it is lived. And so I ask you to commit to this practice for 14 nights, not as an experiment, not as something you will try if you remember, but as a discipline, as an act of self-leadership, as a foundation you are laying for the second half of your life. Each night you will create stillness, you will slow your breath, you will repeat the phrase with intention, and you will stop when drowsiness comes. Do this for 14 nights, and you will know whether this method serves you, and I believe it will. I believe that as you release the internal fight, you will begin to see the life you have been building reveal itself. The financial stability you have worked for will feel closer. The relational peace you have prayed for will feel possible. The clarity you have sought will arrive not through force, but through the steady practice of allowing what is already yours to claim. This is not wishful thinking. This is the reward of aligning your inner world with the principles that govern growth, trust, and legacy. So I leave you with this blessing. May you find the courage to stop forcing and the wisdom to start allowing. May you lead your life with strength and receive your blessings with grace. And may the good you have been building finally reach you. If you are ready to commit to this practice, write in the comments. I commit to 14 nights to mark your decision to build this foundation with discipline.